I just want to say a few words about Irene, the challenge that it's been provided for Vermont agriculture, and why I'm so proud of the progress that we've made, and why we're here to remind Vermonters that we have more progress to make. Irene didn't discriminate when she ripped through Vermont, ripped apart our lives, and destroyed so much of our state. It's no secret that over 476 Vermont farmers were adversely impacted by Irene's rage. Burying equipment, killing livestock, bringing water levels to farms that had never been seen before, washing away prime agricultural land, 26,000 acres of Vermont farm land adversely affected by Irene, leaving sand and boulders and rocks where crops were growing, wiping out crops. We all got together and made the promise that we would help Vermont recover from Irene better than the way she found us. And without the Vermont Farm Disaster Relief Fund, we wouldn't be where we are right now. What's the story? The story is that in spite of the 476 farmers who received damage, the $20 million worth of damage inflicted upon our agricultural community, loss of crops, loss of farmland, loss of equipment, loss of feed, and other things, the 26,000 acres that we lost, we have not lost one single farm because of Irene. That's a huge accomplishment. Why can we say that? Because of Vermonters' generosity in giving to the Farm Disaster Relief Fund, which is being administered by the Vermont Community Foundation. They have raised, we have raised, Vermonters have given over $2.5 million to that fund. That has resulted in $1.9 million being distributed to Vermont farms desperately in need, such as this one. And the result is that we haven't lost a single farm. We have more work to do. There's a new filing deadline for the next round of funds that I want Vermont farmers to be aware of Monday, August 27th, when you have to have your applications in for the next round of funding. Here's our simple hope, that we will continue to ensure that as our dairy farmers struggle with really tough pricing, high grain costs and high feed costs because of the droughts in the Midwest, that while our farmers continue to struggle with a price that is not fair, that we will ensure that Vermonters will continue to be generous, help fund the Farm Disaster Relief Fund, and ensure that farmers who got hit have their applications in for the next round of funding by Monday, August 27th.
What we've witnessed in response to Irene tells the best story about Vermonters and their belief and support in agriculture. From the moment Irene finished ripping through the state, our phone in the Agency of Agriculture was ringing off the hook with people wanting to know what they could do to support the farmers in this state. Literally, within hours of us getting the doors open and being able to answer the phone, we had people calling wanting to know how they can support their farmers. That effort was inspiring to us, is replicated across the state. We in the agency, with that kind of support and the interest that our staff have, immediately transformed our agency and built an administration within our own agency to respond. Our efforts reaching out to the farmers in the field were matched by our partners from the Extension Service, from other federal agencies, and most importantly from Vermonters who volunteered their time to come out in the field, clean barns out, pick things up, help farmers, bring food, and do whatever was called upon them to do. That was an amazing moment in Vermont history, and certainly in the history of Vermont agriculture.
So it has been an absolute pleasure. It's really been an honor to be able to work on this project, and of course it's an honor we all would have been just as happy to have done without. But it is an honor to have been able to work on this project, and both the governor and the secretary talk about the partnerships, and I want to take just a moment to emphasize how important the partnerships are in something like this. If FEMA talks about a 3 to 5 year recovery when you have a disaster like this, And that's a very real thing that they see nationwide. Well, the way you get through that is partnerships with the Department of Agriculture, with the governor's office, with private businesses, with companies, with individual donors, with volunteers, with great farmers like the folks we have here. And we have really been honored to be part of that, working with the agency, UVM Extension, USDA, other nonprofit organizations. The role of philanthropy in this whole thing, we're both a part of it, and we're a bit of a side on it, is that our role is to be a convener, a facilitator, provide good information, and bring people together, bring people who want to provide help in to work with the people who have the need. And that's something we've been able to do. And we've been able to do it quickly, which is what has needed to be happened, because this philanthropic role has been the early gaps, get some money out right away. The design of this farm fund from the start was, we want to get gifts or grants of cash out into people's hands right away so they can begin to address the needs that they have. So we've awarded, as the governor mentioned, $2 million in grants already. We've got our next round coming up right now. So a few more things. It has been an amazing philanthropic response. We've received gifts to this fund ranging from $5 to hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most of them in Vermont, but all over the country as well. And you're going to hear from Cyrus in a minute, and I hope you've seen his lovely mug on the cover of our annual report. The picture, I raised this because here's a picture with him with a young girl named Alana, who, here's the letter on the back: "Dear farmers, I know how much damage there was, so I decided to do a lemonade stand. I got $40.50. I thought you might need it for the flood damage. Love, Ilana." And we got Ilana to come out here and sit with Cyrus and get this thing. Well, that's the kind of support you got around this thing all over the place. The Vermont agriculture speaks to people. It speaks to our economy, and it speaks to who we are as a people.
Last year was our most challenging year by far. We were growing 8 acres of crops in our lower field, which was the land that was affected by Irene. We were growing sweet corn, pumpkins, winter squash, and melons. We picked about half of our sweet corn, and when Irene came, we hadn't picked any pumpkins, any winter squash, any melons. So just about all of that was lost. We were able to salvage about a quarter of our pumpkins, the rest of which floated down the river. The quarter that we salvaged didn't fare so well. Contaminants, I'm assuming, that were in the water caused rotting, and so yeah, it was tough. Our fall season, our pumpkin season, is the time of year when we go from being in the red to being in the black typically. So yeah, without the support of the Community Foundation and the community in general, our loyal customers and everyone who stops here, we wouldn't be here today. I feel proud to be a Vermonter. Like I said, it's an honor to have you all here today. So yeah, thanks again.
Let me underscore a point. Cyrus talked about their loyal customers, and that's a story, if you talk to the farmers, you're going to hear a lot, is that the community, whether they show up as a customer at the farmer's market, or they're a regular CSA member, or they're the neighbor to the dairy farm next door, those customers have been critical, not only by what they buy, but by the support they have provided, that spirit of community and that moral support in a very critical time. I also want to recognize another program that the governor was very critical in getting, helping make happen, and that is VEDA, the Vermont Economic Development Authority. With the governor's leadership and Joe Bradley, who was the head of VEDA, they stepped up and provided well over $1 million, I think it was close to $1.8 million, of low, very low interest loans to the farming community. And between VCF and VEDA, and as well as other funds, that kind of money in the door right away enabled farmers to understand, one, they had somebody backing them, and that's their community. Two, they had the cash to keep going. That's critical. So Governor, again, thank you for your leadership on that. Next person I'd like to introduce is a person that ended up in some ways being the poster woman for the Irene farming community. and the way Beth Kennett. And my best introduction to Beth Kennett was on Saturday night when I was at the Emergency Operations Center working the phones, talking to the extension agents who were trying to figure out how to get to Beth Kennett's farm, help her out, and then how to get out of the Rochester area and get back to the other side of the state so they could get some more supplies to bring over the next day. We were on the phone together that night, and I was talking to Beth, I was talking to Heather Darby on a cell phone, trying to make the connections, trying to tell them which road was out, what road was passable. And Beth, not only did she have a farm to pick up and manage ongoing, she had a house full of guests who were at her bed and breakfast. So Beth, if you could come up and just share a little bit of your experience. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And I really am just here to just say thank you to everyone who was just so incredible in helping us. I feel incredibly blessed to be part of Vermont and to be part of that Vermont community, to have Vermont Community Foundation, to have the governor's office, all of our state and federal agencies, the university extension, but the people of Vermont who came, who overwhelmed us with their support, coming with time, with resources. Some of them hiked over the mountain, they biked over, they came in by helicopter. It was absolutely amazing, just amazing. And we are just so very, very thankful that the support has continued throughout this entire year. As we look at this first anniversary of Irene, I just can't help but say thank you to everyone who has been there for us throughout the past year. And it was lemonade stands, it was children donating their dollars to help buy feed for our cows, it was people calling, sending emails, writing notes, just people who gave us their care. And the caring was just so amazing. We would not be here, we would not be farming if it weren't for all of you and all of your efforts. Thank you so much.
Well, you know, we stand here almost a year after Irene, really with a single purpose, is that I made the promise as governor, and we as Vermonters made the promise that we weren't going to show up, send our condolences, and walk away. And I got to tell you that in natural disasters of this magnitude, that's not an unusual approach from government. So I think our message today is a simple one. We're going to stick with our farmers, with our businesses, with our individuals who've been so hit hard by Irene until we can get them closer to being whole.